Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett. I will be your temporary chairman for tonight on the Belizean Affairs Show number 384. 384. Thank you very much for those who will be tuning into us live, as well as those who will be listening to us later on at their own convenience. Um, Today is Wednesday, and we're supposed to have a different chairman, but the chairman called to say he was not going to be available for tonight, so I'll just sit in temporarily and I'll try to do the best I can in terms of bringing to you a program that hopefully will be worthy of your valuable time. Uh, I'll proceed to do a short prayer as we normally do, after which I'll do a short reading and then I'll go on with the rest of the program. I'll bow my head. Loving Father, thou who art the creator of heaven and earth, thou who art our creator as well, thou knowest our hearts, our desires, even our most secret thoughts. We pray that thou mayest accept the words of our mouth and the meditations of our minds and the contriteness of our hearts before thy presence. Please guide us, protect us, grant us wisdom, knowledge and understanding, endurance, perseverance, and a bit of fortitude to speak truth to power when need be. Thou knowest the trials and tribulations and travails that we are experiencing as human beings on the face of this earth currently, both at home in Belize as well as abroad. Please be merciful unto us all. For those who have need of food and clothes and shelter, please provide for them. For those who are in war zones and other hurricane and tornado and flooding and fire and all kind of disaster, please be merciful unto them as well. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much for allowing me to indulge in our prayerfulness. And the reading for tonight I'll take from, let me see. Okay, so we're going to go to the New Testament for tonight for a change. I'm going to read, let me see, Matthew chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse 1. And it reads as follows. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men. That is to say that you don't go before men and pretend to be praising God just for men to see, to be seen of them. Otherwise, ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, or your praise to God, do not sound a trumpet before thee in order to draw or get people's attention, as the hypocrite do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their own rewards. But when thou doest alms or praise unto God, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thine alms or praise may be in secret, and thy faith, which seeth in secret himself, shall reward thee openly. And that's our reading from the Bible, taken from Matthew chapter 6, verse 1 I think it was through. I think that was verse 1 through 4. Thank you very much. Uh, I don't see any of our other guests or panelists so far, so I'll just proceed. For tonight, uh, it was my intention to do a little bit more. Since I have some extra time available, I'll just do a little bit more of the review of the Belize Constitution in terms of the proposals that are being made by the PCC, the People's Constitution Commission. You will recall, those of you who have been listening to our shows, as of today date, this is our 384 shows. And those of you who have been listening to us during that period of time that we have been broadcasting those shows on our platform would recall, or should be able to recall, that we have been doing what you call some teachable moments, constitutional review lectures or teachings. Why? Because the majority of the people in the country have not had a constitution available to them. They have not studied it. They do not know what it really contains. And while the lawyers and some other people might know some of what is in the Constitution, the majority of people don't know enough to be able to say, well, yes or no in regards to what they would like to change out of the Constitution or what they would like to put in there. So therefore, the people did not authorize the government or demanded of the government for them to one day come up with this grand idea that they would like to see the Constitution changed, and therefore they're going to undertake that endeavor, which they did. They're still in the process. They have not fulfilled part of the milestones or the requirements that they set out to do. That is to try and help the people become a little bit more enlightened about the Constitution. And they have spent millions of dollars upfront already, did not complete that exercise, but have turned over a report to the Prime Minister for him to go ahead, review that report, and probably take it to the House for a vote. Or, as the Prime Minister had written in the PCC, in the documents, the act that they went and did in Congress to get permission for the money, they also stipulated in that act that if the PCC did not present it to them, anything that was of major importance in terms of changing the Constitution, then they, in their own wisdom and under the authority vested in them to make amendments to the Constitution, on those parts especially that they are authorized to, and they are still hoping, as apparently, to be able to bamboozle the people into let the people believe that they are authorized to change just about any and every part of the Constitution, which is not necessarily true, because they are not permitted. It's impermissible for them to make alterations or modifications to certain parts of the Constitution that cannot be written out of existence to start with. But they pretend that they are not aware of that as a reality. They pretend that they have the power to be able to go ahead and amend just about anything, regardless. To the point where a lot of our people back home are of the impression that, well, if they were authorized to make changes to the Constitution, therefore they have what you'd say unlimited jurisdiction to abolish parts of the Constitution that is impermissible under our current governance criteria. And so we took up upon ourselves. I'm someone who is fairly familiar with the Constitution of our country. I know international law. I'm familiar with international law treaties as well, and I'm familiar with the British legal system in regards to common law, tort, and others. And I'm also familiar with Belize and American corporate law. So, in regards to the legal issues pertaining to our constitution and the changes that our Belizean government have been attempting to make, I'm skilled and capable enough to be able to, in the past, having discussed many of these issues with other lawyers, including some previous attorney generals. And for the last 2+ years, we've been on this agenda to hang the Constitution around the neck of those who hold the governance power of our country. That is to say, demand accountability of them, and if need be, embarrass them for their shortcomings, pointing out the errors of their ways and their shortcomings. And so far, we don't need anyone to pat us on the back to say, well, we're doing a good job. Like I said, we know what we're undertaking, we know what the requirements are, we know what the process, procedures, and protocols are, and we're capable enough to be able to sustain our advocacy in regards to the defense of the Constitution of Belize. So therefore, we took that up as a major agenda, and we have been pursuing these teachable moments long before then, but so much more so since then. Anyhow, as I said, in regards to the PCC, which means, as an acronym, PCC means People's Constitution Commission, which was previously the Constitution Reform Commission, because we flagged them so hard about that original endeavor and the name that they had, by the name of the People's Constitution Reform Commission. They decided to change it from the Constitution Reform Commission to the People's Constitution Commission. That is to say, it is the people, according to them, and what they're trying to let everybody believe, it was the people that requested and wanted this process and are actually driving this process. And that was a canard as well as a sleight of hand. But for tonight, and like I said earlier, those of you who have been listening to our program regularly will know that we have been, there's 100 and odd different recommendations that the commission made, of which quite a few of them we have dealt with or pursued in terms of explaining, comparing what those proposals were compared to the existing constitution that we have, because everybody knows that in any country, especially as regards to the British system and our country in Belize, there's only one constitution at a time. There's someone in the background. Let me see. Gregory Brackett. Yes, yeah, he can bring himself in. That's a senior engineer and next panelist. Good night, sir.
Good night, sir.
Would you care to please go ahead and do your introduction or,
Thank
identification?
you.
You're welcome,
Good
sir.
night. Good night to you, people at home and abroad. Thanking you for tuning into this 384th edition of Belizean Affairs. I go back to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Um, so, as I was indicating, Greg, to the general public, since I was taking up, Mr. Wade had called to say he was not going to be available for tonight. He wasn't sure he was going to get back on time, and so I decided to sit in as the chairman for the night, and I was pursuing the objective of talking a little bit more about this PCC recommendations. It's quite a bit of reading and information that we need to give to the public. And every time I get an opportunity, I try to make sure I tackle a little bit more of it, you know. And um, for tonight, I wanted to deal with the part that relates to where it was part three, where it speaks about citizenship. And so I'll just head to part three. Just give me a second. And that was recommendation number, I think it was for the son. Just a minute. Emergency. Oh, it's no. Okay. Part three, citizenship. Here we go. I'll just turn it sideways so I can get a better reading of it. Under there, part three for citizenship, they have recommendation number 57, which reads as follows: amend the criteria for citizenship by marriage. So they made a recommendation number 57, and they say that a time at least 5 years be attached as a requirement. No, I need to make it a little bit smaller. It's not fitting on the. Okay, yeah. That a time uh, at least 5 years in bracket be attached as a prerequisite to persons seeking registration for citizenship through marriage. Uh, that's their proposal, but that's not what the Constitution says. But we'll deal with. We'll go back into it under section 26, subsection 1. The following persons may, upon making applications at any time after 21st of 21st date of September 1981, be registered as citizens of Belize. Any person who is married to a citizen of Belize for a minimum of 5 years is the recommendation. And let me just quickly grab the Constitution. It's another. Um, it's a different device. I have two different devices for right now. So I'm going to read what it says here. Part 3 for citizenship in Belize says, section 23, subsection 1. Every person born in Belize immediately before the 21st of September of 1981 shall become a citizen of Belize on the 21st date of September of 1981, that is, Day of Independence. Subsection 2 reads, every person who immediately before 21st day of September of 1981 is a citizen of the United Kingdom and colonies, having become such a citizen under the British Nationality Act of 1948, section C58, by virtue of his having been naturalized in Belize as a British subject before that act came into force, or paragraph B, having res, resident in Belize become such a citizen by virtue of his having been naturalized or registered under that act shall become a citizen of Belize on the 21st day of September of 1981, the day of independence. As subsection 3 says, every person born outside Belize before the 21st day of September of 1981 shall become a citizen of Belize on the 21st day of September 1981 if his father or mother became or would have, but for his death or her death, the renunciation of his citizenship, having become a citizen of Belize by virtue of subsection 1 or 2 of this section, which I had read above, or in the case of subsection 4 now, every person being born outside of Belize before the 21st date of September 1981 shall become a citizen of Belize on the 21st date of September 1981 if one of his grandparents becomes or would, but for his death or renunciation of his citizenship, have become a citizen of Belize by virtue of subsection 1 or 2 of this section, which I just read above. And then you also have subsection 5, subsection 6. I think I should go ahead and read both of them. As stated in subsection 5, every woman shall become a citizen of Belize on the 21st day of September of 1981 if immediately before the 21st day of September 1981 she or oh she let me read that one again because that's the one that I need to be very clear on when we make our commentary. Subsection 5 reads as follows, and that's the item that they were trying to attack just now in their recommendation. Subsection 5 reads as follows: every woman shall become a citizen of Belize on the 21st day of September 1981 if immediately before the 21st day of September of 1981 she married to a person who became or but for his death or the renunciation of his citizenship would have become a citizen of Belize by virtue of subsection 1, 2, 3, or 4 above of this section. And then the final one, which is 6 and very short, says, subsection 6 says, in this section, the British Nationality Act of 1948, C58, includes any act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom amending that particular act. So all of those items that we read just now from the Constitution tells you who is entitled to be a citizen of Belize, who is a citizen, or how you become a citizen of Belize. You either born there, like we said, I Belize, before the 21st of September 1981, or you were born there after the 21st of September 1981. That's the first category of potential citizens of the country of Belize. Secondly, if you were born outside of Belize before, or you were born outside of Belize afterwards, depending on your parental patrimony, if your parents were Belizeans, you're entitled to be a Belizean. No government can decide that in their own capricious ways they can deny you your right of citizenship because you inherit that by virtue of your parents having been born in Belize. For example, there are people who travel abroad and who are living abroad who wants to exercise their citizenship of Belize, and they are putting them through a hell of a lot of problems, more than they are putting the other outside people that have no connection to Belize. They're giving them citizenship, and they're denying the Belizeans who, according to the Constitution, either were born there or have parental connection to the country. They're denying those people and giving those people difficulties in order to rectify or accept their citizenship. And if you're a Belizean, they're still denying you your right to vote. As a Belizean, they're not providing you any rights if you're not at home. You get marginalized. But I won't get into the commentary yet on that particular um, stuff. I'd just like to ask Mr. Brackett, Gregory Brackett. I don't see nobody else in the background so far. If you care to make any comments in regards to what I read so far and what I stipulated in my commentary so far, sir, I yield the floor.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
As far as I can understand, what they are actually saying is anybody born before independence that is living abroad that has ancestry, meaning father, mother, grandparents, has a right to become a citizen of the league. Through that, I also understand from what you read that anybody who married to a Belizean that is a citizen can also become a Belizean citizen.
One point, Mr. Brackett, you're
Go ahead, sir.
100% so far, but I just want to include one point at that stage of your comment. That is to say, our constitution did not provide for anyone to have to wait 5 years to apply to become citizen. It says specifically if you were born or if you were married before the date of independence, on that date you inherit your citizenship. If you was married after that date, you have a right to be granted that citizenship. It doesn't say that the government have a right to deny you that citizenship. So I mean, I'm just pointing that out as a matter of clarity because it also says in the Constitution that the government is entitled to provide for requirements that other individuals who were not born in the country or who are not Belizean by birth and or by parental prerogatives, that the government can make rules and regulations to grant them citizenship. But it's not the same thing when it says about granting born Belizeans and or Belizeans who have the right to citizenship. And some people conflate and mix those things up. But
But we,
yield back, sorry, I yield back. I'm sorry.
but we still have an issue when it comes to that. If we are speaking about other people who are getting citizenship before the ones that have ancestry,
Yep,
what about the people who are from Commonwealth countries who can come and live here and vote in our election? They are uh, they are actually classified as citizens.
exactly. They're grandfathered. That's what I call it. They're grandfathered into the system, but they don't have to wait 5 years to marry a Belizean and then being able to exercise.
If
In other
if
words,
I
these
might
guys are taking away privileges that the current constitution already grant us, and that's my complaint.
if I might rephrase that so you see what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
It says any citizen of the Commonwealth
Mm-hmm.
can come to Belize and live for a year and vote in our election. It didn't say you have to have ancestry to Belize. It says any citizen of the Commonwealth, which would make that be a foreigner who is in the Commonwealth,
Mm-hmm.
can come to Belize, live a year, and participate in our elective service, which is our election.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, with that saying, it simply means that within a year they are treated as though they were born in Belize. So when we speak about Belizean Americans who migrated, who cannot take part in our election, and who is having this devious act by the government trying to keep
Uh,
them away,
Amendment 7
that is
and
correct.
others and others.
But see, I don't even recognize the Amendment 7.
because it's bogus. It's
because the
unconstitutional.
Constitution is specific. So
Exactly.
why should I recognize the Seventh Amendment?
Because the
The
government is assuming the
Constitution
posture.
speaks about
I'm sorry. I'm
alienable
sorry.
rights,
Yes, sir.
and that alienable right is never give up once you were born here.
They
So
can take
even
that.
when you are migrated to another country, you have the right to come back and participate in an election. But the
Well,
government is trying to boycott people from doing that. That makes no sense to me.
they're trying to make
Because then, if you
inconsistent laws.
want to do that and you are talking about even constitution reform, why go to these Belizean Americans that are living abroad that cannot take part in an election, that will not take part at the end of your constitution reform when you have to have what we call a plebiscite or a referendum? What sense
Mhm.
does it make? Because then,
You're
to
boxing
me,
them out.
all they're trying to do is to create numbers to say, well, the people abroad agree, and some people in Belize agree, trying to get a percentage, knowing it don't make a difference because they are barred by the Seventh Amendment. Go
Uh,
ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Brackett. I just want to include in that in your comment. I just want to add a little extra statement too of my own, and that is that they, the people that run the government of our country, both UDP and PUP, are in cahoots with trying to violate these Belizeans abroad's right. That is that they hide behind the idea that they are empowered to make laws, which the Constitution gives them the power or the authority to make laws for other people. The Constitution does not bestow on them the right to make any laws in regards to the rights of Belizeans. They are authorized to grant citizenship or nationality to people who are not born Belizeans and who have no first rights of Belizean citizenship powers authorized to them by the Constitution. But they want to go ahead and violate the Constitution, make inconsistent laws that are null and void in the first place, because that's how the Constitution classifies those laws, null and void, so long as they're inconsistent. And they want to use those inconsistent laws to box out Belizeans who have natural birthright.
That is
While
correct.
they're, yes, while they are granting secondary rights through nationality and sale of passports and other underhand or illegal activities or unconstitutional activities, they are giving first priority to other people and not their own home born citizens. And they do that because it's a it's a scam that they're running. They want to, like you said earlier, pretend that they're consulting with the Belizeans abroad, when in fact the Constitution speaks about consultation in regards to a plebiscite. That is how you consult your population. You don't consult your population by going to one community, talk to about 10, 15 people in that community, go to another community, talk to about 20 other people in that community, and you go to maybe about 50 people and talk to 10 members of those 50 community. 10 times 50 is so much, 500, right? Am I right?
That
10
is
times 50 is
correct.
500. So if you're going to go and consult 50 communities or 50 different people, 10 members of that community, and you have 4 to 500, let's say you have 500,000 people, and you consult only 500 of those people, you're 1,000% out of order. And you want to take what those 500 people say and try to make a law that mandates the taking away of the rights of that 500,000 just because of the 500 people that you say you consulted. If you consulted correctly as the Constitution requires you to do, which is to have a plebiscite, then enough people will vote, and among those that vote will carry the day in a democracy. That is to say, they will say yeah or nay. But we in Belize are being suckered into believing that, well, so now as these guys say, oh, they consulted the people by going and talking with a couple people here and a couple people there, they are violating the spirit and the law of the Constitution, which requires them to have a. That's why it says if the government is going to tamper with any of these rights or certain laws in the country, they have to have a plebiscite.
But they don't want to do that, Mr.
Because,
Brackett.
well,
It
that
has
means that that's
been,
not cause. That
it
means that
has,
that's not cause.
it, it has been 3 times. When it comes to national security, the government has overstepped its bounds
Hmm.
and not coming to the people. The
Exactly.
first one is when they brought in the terrorists. The second one is this safe haven for people coming in from America. They did not came to the people, and per our constitution, that falls under national security that is in the hand of the people.
And they had
That
no
is
right.
why they should have come to the people and had a plebiscite to see who agree or disagree. The third one, sir,
Uh-huh.
is this free flow between couple CARICOM countries where they will come in, they could get banking, they could work, they could live and stay and do all that. What happened when election time come when these people got IDs and all that? You see what I'm saying?
They will have the right, according to the new constitution, they will also have the right to vote or do just like what the Commonwealth system allow those who are of other Commonwealth countries. It will be the same grandfathered issue. They will be able to exercise their right as if they were full citizens. But the problem is they the people of the country doesn't know their constitution enough,
That is correct.
so they should have educated them. We should have been teaching our constitution in different at different levels in different grade classes in the school. We should have had at least a cursory constitutional review class at our university level for those students who wants to become lawyers and who eventually go and study abroad to become lawyers. When they come back home, they already know the constitution and they know how to apply those laws and the system that they learn abroad within the context of what is our system and our societal norms and beliefs.
You know what will happen? What will happen when we have these people coming, especially from CARICOM countries? These people have a higher form of education than the Belizean people living here, and they will take most of the jobs. Where do our judges come from right now?
Exactly.
CARICOM countries, right? So that alone should be able to tell you what will happen.
And they're coming with Republican mindset. That is to say, yield to the government in power of the day to let them have their way with the public or with the people because they are the government. They are the elected government according to the people. And therefore, they should have their own way. They do not abide by the precedents in the legal community as it were before. I yield, sir. I yield. Oh,
Thank you. It goes further than that because, as we said, people does not know the Constitution and they don't know the jeopardy they have been placed in. I was reading on Facebook, and on Monday we had a conversation about the police officer with the dreadlock.
uh-huh.
And surprisingly, a majority of people were saying he should have known before he got in the police force that There's a dress code and a discipline that must happen, you know? And I was saying, you know what? That is a fundamental right. That is a given right. Freedom of expression is a right. That is something no government, no private entity can take away from none of Belize's citizens.
Now, do they have any authority to make any law
And
to contravene that particular right?
right, and I want to show how that is being misinterpreted. It is being misinterpreted. And I want to play this video and I want to hear your input on it because I am sure that some Belizeans have the wrong concept about what was said pertaining to that officer.
That matter is long behind us. I even forgot about that matter because the truth is, the female or the officers involved, they have been working and we have no issues. Some of them have been promoted, even with the dreadlocks. And the court ruling is the court ruling. That's the reason why we have a court system. The court looks at laws, and where the court find that certain laws or certain rules are inconsistent with the Constitution, it is the court's duty to point it out to us, and then we must make amends to our policies. And so I have absolutely no issue with the court ruling. Our policy is clear now. We have revised the policy. And so it is clear now that in terms of how officers here must look, and while yes, there may have been some ambiguity when it comes to that of the female officers, the one that deals with the male officers is extremely clear as to what is permissible. And so once it is that you enter the department knowing that you're supposed to maintain a low haircut, we don't expect that later on you'll accept coming in knowing the situation, and then later on you come and you want to change it to suit you. I don't think that the court is going to countenance that.
Mr.
Go
Gregory,
ahead, sir.
thank you very much, sir. We just saw Commissioner or former Commissioner Williams speaking to that issue. Long before that matter was taken to court, I was consulted on that matter by some of the very same young ladies then. And I made recommendations to them as well as to members of the office of the DPP. Okay? If I'm not mistaken, I think I spoke to the deputy DPP at the time. I was right there in that office when those young ladies came in, and I heard them discussing the matter, and I intervened. And I pointed out that the dress codes and the rules and regulations of the police department in regards to personal appearances and things like those things came from way back in the old colonial days. And in those days, nobody had the opportunity to question or deal with any of those matters substantively. So I pointed out that those issues about people's hair and people's way of, those should have been dealt with at the high command of the police, and those rules and regulations should have been reviewed in the context of our modern state of affairs. We're not a colony anymore. We're an independent country. And those things, you cannot, discriminate against some members of the society negatively or positively. Those laws, back in those days, everybody had to be pressing their hair, putting in all kind of chemical for straighten out their hair, and people used to like the Spanish people them. They used to have long hair. They could roll up their hair in buns, and that was good enough and acceptable. They cut their hair, they look presentable, and then brush their hair. The black people had to go through a whole lot of stuff sometimes. They can't get the work on time because they still they mess with them here and then time to run up on it. Make them catch them bus to get the work. So you have to adjust the rules so it doesn't become discriminatory. Because that in itself, in those days, used to be a form of discrimination. And I brought that matter to the attention of the commissioner himself. I told him that he had the authority vested in him to ask his minister for them to have that matter reviewed. And if need be, if they don't have to go all the way to the House of Representatives, to have the minister of police take the matter to the House and correct it because it needed to be corrected. He could have corrected it.
I disagree with you on that though,
Go ahead.
and I will tell you why. Belize got its independence in 1981 under what? Democracy, right? And
Yes,
as
sir.
part of our constitution, section 3 through 19, with section 25, judicial review protects one's fundamental rights. I will tell you what is wrong with what was said on the tape. I have said it more than once here in Belizean affair. Policies does not trump your constitutional right. And if you listen to what the past commissioner said, they have updated their policies so that now any young man or gentleman who is coming in the police force, if they come in and decide they want to do that, he don't believe the High Court would side with them. I will say this right here and now, they will lose again. Policy does not trump anyone's constitutional right. But
Mhm.
why would they lose? Because you cannot have selective obedience. You cannot say it is okay for the female policewoman to wear their dreadlocks, but it's not okay for the men to do the same. It's
Uh,
unconstitutional, and they
Mr.
will lose if they go to court.
Mr. Brackett,
Yes,
let me read the Constitution of Belize, Section 16, subsection 1, reads as follows: subject to the provisions of subsection 4, 5, and 7 of this section, which is section 16, no law shall make any provisions that is discriminatory either in its effect or in its neither in itself or in its effect. I don't know how clear that needs to be when it comes to the issue of discrimination between the different races in the society or in the
you,
police department.
you
You cannot
cannot do
become
that. Go ahead.
okay. Subsection 2, subject to the provisions of section 6, 7, and 8 of this section, no person shall be treated in a discriminatory manner by any person or authority. And what is the police department doing? What was Chester doing when I told you that I explained to him that he had the power and the authority to correct what was illegally being done, that was transgressing the Constitution, and that if need be, they could have. Those are the kind of things that they could take to the House and correct. But they don't need to go to the House to correct that because the Constitution is already telling you here what is and isn't permissible. You cannot discriminate. And if you have a rule or regulations or some authority that you have put together to create discrimination, it means you're violative of the Constitution. And that's why they
You
lost and they'll continue losing. As of right now, the last comment that Mr. Chester made, by saying that, well, now they know that when they come in, they're coming in under whatever condition, and therefore they shouldn't expect to. They're still coming in under a violation of the Constitution. So anybody can still challenge it.
right, and I will tell you why. The Constitution in specifically says that No one can stop you from doing trade or doing any job you want, whatever it is, unless you pay your fair taxes, etc. But
But
not
that's a
only because of that, I will tell you why this is discrimination
uh,
and
uh,
it will not work. There was
before
a
sir, before you continue with the clarification of that point, can I just read another little part of the same uh, section that I was reading, and I want to read subsection 3. It says, in this section, the expression discriminatory means affording different treatment to different persons, attributable wholly or mainly to their respective descriptions by sex, by race, place of origin, political opinions, color, creed, uh, whereby persons of one such description, for example, a male or a female, the female Spanish person would have more naturally long straight hair, easily taken care of, whereas the female black person would have kinky hair in some instances and harder to take care of. Or maybe they plait them dreadlocks, so and after they comb their hair or have a issue with a big afro every day going to work, you know. So you have to accommodate. You have to make situations non-discriminatory for the person to be able to make way. You cannot deprive that person of being able to work in the police department because they don't want to cut their hair short, or they don't want hot comb their hair, or they don't want to put lye or chemical in their hair that will drop out their hair and all kind of other craziness. You have to adjust the rules and regulation to afford everybody a fair chance at being able to be employed. You cannot discriminate and take away a person's job on that basis. There are different sections of the Constitution that tells you that as well. Exactly as you pointed out just now, under Section 3, all the way through Sections 19 and Section 20 inclusive for judicial review. So you are perfectly correct when you made that statement. And it's clarifying it here. It's giving the details. And yet, Mr. Chester, as the commissioner for so many years, and as a lawyer himself, should have known these things, which is why I say sometimes you have lawyers that don't know these things, understand these things, and it seems like they either forgot what they learned in school or they didn't brought their school book out of the class with them, you know, and they don't know what's in there anymore because they haven't practiced it.
you see,
I yield
Mr.
back, sir.
Brackett,
I yield.
what happened is if you want to have selective obedience, you are violating Section 6 of the Constitution that
Everybody's equal
falls
under the
under
law.
equal protection.
Yes, sir.
You cannot say it's okay for the ladies to have it yesterday and then come today and it's not okay for the men to do it. I will tell you why. Some years ago, there was a case with a teacher who was working for a Catholic school. And what happened, they were strict. The teacher got pregnant out of wedlock and they terminated her. And she sued. And you know what? She won the case. You know why she won? Because she's simply saying it is not fair for me to get terminated because I get pregnant and my pregnancy is showing while you're still keeping the male teacher who is not married but he's getting females pregnant out of wedlock.
Mr. Brackett, can I?
So you
Go ahead. Go ahead.
cannot discriminate between sex and the Constitution specifically says in Section 6 equal protection. And
Uh,
this
if
case
I
will fall under the same thing,
if I recall
discrimination
correctly,
between sex. Go ahead, sir.
thank you very much, sir. If I recall correctly, there was a case similar to the one that you just pointed out just now, but it was regarding a religious school. As you know, we have different schools in the country, some which are under religious organizations and others that are directly sponsored by the government, right? But what happened is that this Catholic school, the young lady was not married to her partner, and she got pregnant.
It's the same case, Mr. Brackett.
Okay. Let me. I want to dissect it a little bit for clarity. Um, so what happened is that they were trying to use religious dogmas or religious teachings or practices or conditions to superimpose on this young lady's employment status. That is that with a regular teacher that is married, comes to school pregnant, and does her job as a Catholic, that is not looked upon unfavorably. But on a young lady that is not married, that comes to school pregnant, you know, they want to pretend to say that she's not meeting up to the Catholics' requirement for the dogmas and the teachings, and therefore that's an impact on their religious environment. That is what I was. That's why I said I was reading this too, and I will read the little piece again just to make sure that what you are saying and what I'm saying is compatible with the Constitution, and that people don't get the idea that we just try to come up with something. That's why I read it. I'll read it. Let me read. It says in this section, the expression discriminatory means affording different treatment to different persons attributable wholly or mainly to their respective descriptions by sex, by race, by place of origin, political organization, color, or creed, whereby a person of one such discrimination, uh, a person of one such description are subject to disabilities or restrictions to which persons of another such description, being one and the same, are not made subject to. That is that in the case of the religion, because the person wasn't married, they want to say the person can't work in their environment. It does not have a right. They lose their right to work, which is a fundamental right. Okay, and it says to which not made subject to or accorded privileges or advantages which are not accorded to another person or another such description. The bottom line is that the Constitution tells you specifically you cannot discriminate against other people. So therefore, the church is willing to take the money from the government while they want to discriminate because of religious. You cannot do that. It's impermissible. And that's why the young lady won her case. And anybody that goes back to the court for that same type of situation will end up winning or should end up winning because there's a precedent set already.
There is more than one precedent. We just had one recently with the Social Security Board too, identical thing,
Uh-huh.
where a female could get the pension, the male couldn't get it because they deemed that the male should be able to work. They went to the court and they lost because they violated Section 6 of the Constitution, and that was considered discriminating.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I was saying, this will end up to the court, they will lose again, and what the police department should do, like any other department, is to align their policies with the Constitution so they do not get into these issues.
But like
Because again, policies does not trump your constitutional right.
any policy or any statutory instrument or any directives, any process, procedures, protocols that are inconsistent with the Constitution is void to the extent of its inconsistency. And we have had these cases over and over and over. And are you going to tell me that the police department don't have people, legal minds, that the government can provide them to help guide them or provide them with legal input? Are you going to tell me that they can't go and review these things, especially after a case, court case is handed down that sets the precedent, that they can't go back? I mean, in the tape that you played, Mr. Williams himself said that they have to go back and look at, what they were doing and revise and stuff. Why haven't they done it as of today? Yet that hasn't been done yet. I can guarantee you that.
They must align their policies with the
That's what
Constitution.
she acknowledged. She acknowledged that, but they have not done it. And we will have another case like you just alluded to. You'll have other cases coming up similarly, and they will always lose the cases. But who is paying? The money to pay for those cases is not coming out of their budget, the police department budget, or out of any other police department employees' pocket. And until they start feel some pain and some pressure, they won't make the change. Are you back, sir?
Thank you. Now, there is something new. I haven't heard it on the news, but it came out. We have sat here and Belizean affair and we have talked about it. We know why it was being pushed forward and we continue to speak about it. And tonight, here is the tip, Mr. Brackett. Well due.
As you know, there was a lot of discussion around this and that. Citizens not feeling safe within the changes that would happen. The Prime Minister stated that this will no longer be achieved as an amendment to the Constitution, but instead as a change to the criminal code. And we welcome that conversation, and we will continue with that conversation as well. That is what he indicated to us. We had Sister Sharon Fraser that was discussing this topic because it came up in our general council, and he stated that because we told him that we do not see this 13th Amendment passing with the approval of citizens of Belize, and he stated exactly that it would not be achieved as an amendment, but to be changed under the criminal code that would require SOAs to be approved through the National Security Council. That is where the conversation or the change would happen.
Now,
Sorry.
before you say anything,
Sir, go ahead.
we have not heard this on the news, but they will forgo the 13th Amendment because the Constitution, as we have mentioned, protects itself. Any law that is inconsistent with the Constitution is null and void.
Okay.
So no, they must go back to the board and try to do it a different way. Go ahead, sir.
They should not go back to the board, Mr. Brackett, and try and redo nothing that was not done right initially and or that is unconstitutional, regardless of how they come about doing it. Because they cannot and should not be trying to violate the rights of the people. And then trying to go around and do it. Okay, they won't give up. At least they are implying that they won't give up trying to make the Constitutional Amendment 13. But they're still going to go both now and try to do it by internal
Passing
mechanisms.
laws. They want to go to try to pass laws. Not laws.
Yeah.
Which will also be unconstitutional.
Which is why I said what I said earlier. If it was unconstitutional before, it's unconstitutional now. And it will be unconstitutional until they go about doing the right thing. And I'm not going to tell them or advise them how to do the right thing in terms of not getting themselves smacked down. Because otherwise, these scofflaws, the more advice you give them, okay, the more they try to wiggle around and twist things around to try and get the same objective done. Because that's what he's talking about doing, to try and get the same thing done now through a different route. If it's illegal, it's illegal. Stop beating your head against the wall. Stop chancing people. Stop trying to use the mechanism of governance to violate the Constitution. Are you back, sir?
I don't see him coming up with no bill passing that will give them the right to call a state of emergency. And he will not let it go because the right thing to do is to appeal the decision at the CCJ.
And
they know they will lose.
Because they know they will lose. Yeah.
They will lose.
Correct.
Because they violated the Constitution.
So long as we
using
have the present constitution, they have no way out of it.
exactly. You know why? Because, as you said, there are people in position that don't know the Constitution and the law.
Exactly.
We just formally had the Prime Minister himself and the Attorney General specifying that the PCC Act, that is not a constitution, has in a referendum act also. And we know better than that. There is only one constitution.
Exactly.
But they say these things to try to get away from plebiscite and referendum, where they should be held accountable. And we must keep pointing out these things. There is
Well,
only one constitution, so we need to make the people at home and abroad know.
Mr. Brackett, I want to give you a pat on the back as well as pat my oneself too, both of us, and Mr. Wade and other people, because we flag these guys enough to the point where they get the sense that we're not going to just cease and desist flagging them. But so if they don't want to continue to get more flagging, do the right thing, and we will have no reason to be flagging nobody. But the point is that they didn't thought they was going to come up with the type of resistance that we have put up against them and embarrass them to the point now where they constantly they went to the house and tore up the political thing which we flagged them both about. Okay. Then they talk about change the 13th Amendment now. They're talking about trying to change the whole constitution too. All those endeavors have been, we held them at bay. If they were able to get beyond where we are blocking them off at every step of the way, they would have done what they want to do long time because they actually have the power. But how stupid they look for a bunch of novice exposing them and holding them at bay. So now they don't want to go ahead with the 13th Amendment. They got enough flagging over that. We're not going to drop the ball because the way these scofflaws work is they're only looking for an opportunity to rush and commit crimes and make new laws. And like I've been saying, okay, if all 100% of them make those bogus laws, they're still bogus. If it's unconstitutional laws, it's unconstitutional. The fact that they make it not make it constitutional.
You can know when it's informal. It's always informal when it's done by administrative. That's when they are pushing their own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell because every time they do one, it's coming from administrative. Like when they said the BPOs are essential service,
That
when
was
we
crazy.
know they are not. That's coming from administrative.
Yes, but they were doing a favor to the BPOs, you know.
So we know. The people might not know, but we know. And I will say this again. They can go ahead and they can try to do constitutional reform, but they cannot change nothing until they have a referendum.
Uh, I see someone. Okay, Mr. Morrison is with us. Greg.
Good
Good night,
evening.
I
Mr.
don't,
Morrison.
Good
good evening,
evening.
Mr.
Good
Morrison.
evening.
I
Good
don't know how
evening.
much you heard from what we were discussing
No,
earlier.
I just jumped on. I was trying to
Okay,
finish up some stuff for work, and
no problem, sir. Thank you very much for gracing us. Better
thank you.
late than never.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good
uh,
evening, Mr. Gregory.
Greg.
I think I'm last in touch. I think I last saw you last year
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
before.
But last year was just a
It's
few days
good to
ago,
see
man. You
you.
guys make this thing sound like last year was like, you know,
I know, right?
some many, last year was like so many dozens of months ago.
I know. I know. Yeah, yeah.
You know,
But Mr.
Greg,
Morrison, the
go ahead, Greg.
topic we was on just now
Yes.
is the Prime Minister decided to forego the 13th Amendment because say the people don't want it. The people is against it. So he will try to get the state of emergency enacted, I think using legislative power or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we have the legislative power now to deal with state of emergency and to enact state of emergency. So I don't know what he was trying to do, why he
You're
wanted.
right, sir.
Yeah,
You're right.
I don't know why he wanted to bastardize our constitution, put us on a constant state of emergency. I know that's how we went into independence, but at least they should have dreamt up another scenario for us rather than have us in a constant state of emergency.
The problem is that these gentlemen are onerous people, you know. They are scofflaws. They don't want to abide by the laws. The Constitution is there telling them in black and white what is permissible and what is not, and
Mhm.
how to go about exercising the powers granted to them to make
Mhm.
valid and permissible laws, to make laws that are, as Section 2 of the Constitution says, anything that is inconsistent with the Constitution is void. So they don't have to be making laws that are inconsistent, and therefore have to have those laws overthrown court, by the court having to tell them that, you know, they lose the case and they have to pay people money because they violated people's basic civil rights. And then they don't want to pay it. They don't want to take the matter to the higher court because they know they're going to lose again, and they don't want to pay. So what they want to do now is do like Mr. Barrow had done: go ahead and use his majority in the House of Representatives, create a new law that is also inconsistent with the previous law and therefore as well bogus. Yeah. And that's how these guys play fast and loose, not because they don't know. Are you back? Uh,
I can't
Gregory,
hear you, Mr. Morrison. You on mute.
Mr. Morrison? Yeah, he's on mute. I don't know what happened. Uh,
Mr. Morrison, can you hear me?
okay, let us talk. In the meantime,
Okay,
yeah,
sorry,
he's
sorry,
on mute.
Okay.
sorry.
Go
No,
ahead, sir.
I was saying I'm not sure why they want to put us in that a straitjacket of revising the Constitution, but I hope that whatever they do with new laws, it is still consistent with the Constitution and not something that will, that is contrary and creates problem for anyone. There seem to have been enough laws, like I said earlier, to address states of emergency, and I don't think we need to enshrine it in our Constitution as a permanent kind of state of dysfunction.
But the Constitution tells us under Section 18, for example, how you go about getting the Constitution, how you go about legally implementing a state of emergency. And it gives you the criteria, which are very valid.
But what they want to use it for, sir, does not fall under that. The Constitution 18.2 specifies
Yeah,
when
yeah.
those powers should come in.
Yeah, usually state of emergency is when they have an outbreak of disease or
Exactly.
a, or a, or a
Something catastrophic.
natural disaster or
Uh-huh,
a threat of invasion in our
uh-huh.
country.
Or even
Um,
an internal revolution or
yeah,
whatever, you know.
civil disruption, but not for just trying to
But
control
uh,
crime in its regular focus. There's other
uh,
laws and other measures they
sorry.
could take to sort of make act properly and develop the proper remedies for the crime that we're seeing. There's one thing that kind of I like in that probably some of the measures that the American government have taken in trying to impose these restriction and these drug trafficking and might in fact benefit all of the Caribbean, including Belize, in terms of helping us, unless they find measures that makes it a completely land type of transportation now. But I think when it's land, we have a little better control of
Mr. Morrison,
taking.
I disagree with you. That's a false flag, sir. If we want to go that road to drugs, who should be held accountable for the COVID-19 vaccine?
Why are you talking about that? I'm talking about illegal drugs, cocaine
Yes.
and amphetamines and things like that, not
May I,
COVID vaccine.
may I have a comment on that? On what you
Go
had
ahead, sir.
stated earlier? Thank you. Um, the issue that we are being fed a narrative, and we are grabbing that narrative and running with it, doesn't necessarily mean that we should have run with the narrative. And on the fact that because, well, who said it and why they said it and for what convenience or purpose they said it. Because at the end of the day, most people would know that we have an organization. Well, let me back up. Let me back up a little bit. Um, okay, my point would have been, let me change the way of how I was projecting my thought. The point that I would have liked to get across is that aren't these countries in the Caribbean, Central and South America, North America, and any other part of the world who are under the United Nations Charter as independent have a right to determine who they negotiate, who they deal with, who they have commerce with, who they have whatever, the bottom line is that there's no international law that provides for one country to stigmatize any other country as being whatever they want to classify them to be. And on that basis, then that those other people should be sanctioned and or that those other people should suffer some consequences because of the narrative of this any one particular country. I'm generalizing my statement, but I would like to be more specific in terms of the facts. Because, for example, I'll localize it in terms of Belize. Belize does not have the military wherewithal to contest its sovereignty effectively against the cartels. We don't have one air wing that could go and intercept those planes, or BDF and other people that we have on the ground are not even capable of catching these people when their plane crash. In most instances, by the time they get there, the drug disappear, the plane is left there, yes? Okay? I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but we should not be blamed for an international issue that we have no ability to effect control over and or to be effective in terms of policing. But yet we as a country, because we are in the pathway, we become stigmatized and marginalized. Okay, and it's unfair to us as Belizeans, as small as we country is, because it is not right. But let's say, for example, Mexico. Why should Mexico be classified as any worse of a drug-involved country than the United States of America, where all the damn drug come from, not only from Mexico, but from China and from all over the world? I mean, I'm getting to the extreme, right? So if Venezuela is to be put under the thumb or under the boot because of their drug dealing, why shouldn't Colombia, which used to be the primary drug dealing place, where
It
all the
still
bags
is.
of coffee used to come instead of with coffee, used to come with drugs in there? Yeah,
It still
it should
is.
be yes, but
The
they should have been the first in line in terms of being, brought under discipline, right? Not that they
yeah.
may not necessarily be next in line.
Well,
I
well,
hear back. I hear
it,
back.
I
Crazy
think
man.
I
Crazy
think
people.
the situation we have with Venezuela is
They
made
have
up
to
to
be
be what
spoiled.
it's made up to be what they want it to be, and the reasoning is quite different than what they presented to us. Because the reason for going for Maduro was because they wanted to remove him because he objects to to opening up his oil uh,
Resources.
resources to America in a way and in an extravagant way, and
Aligning himself with our
yes,
enemies.
giving it to people outside the region, countries China and Russia,
But
and,
that's his right. That's what you call a country that has its own, right within its own boundaries as an independent country. You know, any of us, no matter how
You,
big or small
you
we
know,
are.
you know, you know. This is gets on a very sticky and technical ways because let's look at it from a cause, effect, and benefit type of analysis. The people from Venezuela, they're not going to China and Russia. They're coming to the United States. We're within the hemisphere, we're within the region. And so I think there needs to, if America is getting a negative impact from the migration that's caused from the dysfunction of their government, I think they do have a reasonable way of trying to help resolve it. I'm not saying what they did is the ideal way of
I
dealing with it.
disagree with you, Mr. Morrison.
No, they have to. You could disagree with me, Mr. Brackett. You sure can. But that's the fact. The impact of having 3 or 4 million Venezuelans in America because of a dysfunctional government is an issue that China is not faced with, Iran is not faced with, and Russia is not faced with. The country within the hemisphere, the United States of America, and many other Caribbean countries are being impacted by this character's behavior. You see, that's the fact.
That, that,
There's no
that,
That
there,
is not the fact, sir. I disagree.
that's why I
no
preface my comments as a narrative.
no
We
no
are
Mis-
no
being
no
we are being
no.
fed a narrative,
What's
and,
wrong?
and the narrative that they started
Mr.
out with is not
Morrison,
the
if
same
I
narrative that
may,
they're using today. After
Well,
the
that's
successful,
true. Things change,
everything
but
is changing.
yeah, but Mr. Brackett, Mr. Gregory Brackett, what can you disagree with? The people that are leaving
I will tell
Venezuela
you,
are
sir,
coming to the United States of
the
America. They're not going to
people,
China. They're not going to
I
Russia.
will tell you, sir, the footprint is there. It started in Africa. When the people rise up, you know what they were called? Savages. It went to the Middle East. When the people find out what was going on, you know what they were called? Terrorists. It went to Latin and South America, and you know what they are called?
Drug dealers.
Drug dealers.
I'm
Okay?
not disagreeing with any of
The
that, and I'm not saying,
people from
but
Venezuela going to America is not because of the Venezuelan government. It's because of the sanctions being placed on that country,
I understand all that.
like
I'm
they
talking
like
about
they're doing all over the place to get the resources. Why you think most country that is waking up wants to move away from the US dollar? Because they use it as a weapon. If you are not aligned with them, they use force. They overthrow your government. They install puppet government to get your research, your resources. Let's be real.
Uh,
Because you know what? As I said before, you know what is the name of the people who are doing that? And I will put it out there like this, the white men, you know what name they have? Democracy. Every time they do it, it's in the name of democracy. I'll leave
Greg,
it at that.
Greg, thank you very much, sir. I would just like to add a little comment here, and that is that Mr. Greg Morrison has a good observation about the fact that the Venezuelans, them who are in the United States right now, not all of them, by the way,
yeah, of course.
right? But a lot of them who are in the United States, some of them are not as much as the other, because we have in the United States people from Mexico, much more than from Venezuela.
Yes,
We have
yes.
people from Guatemala,
Hmm.
from Belize, including myself, from Honduras, including the president when I just pardoned the other day, and millions more, from El Salvador, from Nicaragua, from the Contra Wars, from Costa Rica, from Panama, from all down the line, every country in the world almost you could find somebody that's the United States that came from that particular country. In other words, the United States is accommodating people from all over the world. And that's laudable to a certain extent because, well, they're claiming now that there's more people here than they really want to have here. So then they kick out people, whether they were born here or not. They just want to reduce the population here. But my point is Colombians, Venezuelans, Brazilians, Argentinians, Uruguayans, Chileans, um, uh, the equatorial country, what then call again? But anyhow,
Ecuador,
Peru, Ecuador, yeah, Peru, all those countries, Paraguay, Uruguay, all of them have people where they come into the states. I know here that then they blame any of them as drug dealers, and that's why they want to kick them out or take over the country.
Well, as I said, a lot of things with what happened.
Narratives,
No,
narratives.
yeah, but a lot of things that happened with Venezuela was basically the instability in their country for the last 10 years, right?
But Greg explained that just now.
No,
As to
I
why is
understand.
it that they have the
We
instability?
understand the reasoning for it. We understand that the sanction caused a lot of it, a lot of the state of the economy to get twisted and turned. There's no reason why
By
they,
design. By
yeah, yeah,
design.
yeah, yeah. Venezuela has refused to play ball for a very long time, since late Hugo Chavez time, right?
Mhm.
And Maduro has been in power now for 10 or 12 years, I think, as president. Um, and so there's lots of reasons why this situation exists in terms of the tension with the United States and why people have been coming from that country. And we know that um, they accuse him of drug dealing, right? It seems to me, and I can't quite understand it, because I would think if a person that sits on that level of wealth, right, um, accessibility to it, then it seems strange to me that they would corrupt themselves
exactly,
with dealing dirty drugs. You know,
exactly.
there's
When
enough.
you get more than the amount the drug
Yeah.
can do.
But
Narratives.
but there's a little bit of hint of something I got the other day in listening to some of the conversation about the indictment on him, and it seems to me from some comments that they are saying that his involvement in drugs was at an earlier time, probably before he became the president, when
Quickly,
he was a minister.
quickly. What was the first thing that the judge disposed of when they put the man in front of the judge
I don't
in the
know.
court? The first thing in Ghana was to dispel with the idea of it was about drug dealings and all these things that they couldn't prove. They could
They
allege
still
any kind of
can't
thing.
prove it right now. But that
That was
is
the
not
first thing.
really what is happening.
But
Well,
the man had
American, let me say it this way, right? When Chavez was around, Venezuela was blooming.
mm-hmm,
The Caribbean countries were blooming.
mm-hmm.
They didn't have to come to the white man for funding. And America realized that Venezuela was getting too big and they would not be doing business in Latin or South America because Venezuela was taking and lending and funding all Caribbean countries,
yeah.
even
Well,
Colombia.
yeah.
They would not borrow a loan from any white country.
Well, that's not true,
Britain
you
couldn't
know.
do
That's
it.
not that's not true. Now,
America couldn't do it.
Before we change after that point, can I say something quickly? We could probably go back to that same point again, but
yeah,
just
yeah.
before we change on to it, no? Um, which country in this world, including China, Russia, and any other country, which country in this world can do to the United States what the United States does to other country? Explain that to
Well,
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we
My
definitely
my
we definitely
right. That's
yeah,
the world we're living in.
yeah, yeah.
and it's only they might only make right when it's convenient. Because, like I said, all the fentanyl is coming from China
Mhm.
to Mexico. We have heard them say that Mexico needs to be invaded or need to be helped to deal with their cartel. Well, we haven't heard them say we're going to invade China because they're the one poisoning us up. They are the one sending the damn drugs here to kill out thousands of we people every day and every year. Okay, so we should be targeting that source.
Well, they'll be a
We
harder, they're a harder person to attack. They're not immediately in our region, and they don't have the oil we want.
Mr.
Venezuela sits
Morrison,
on,
I
Venezuela sits
want
on,
to ask a question, Mr. Morrison.
they say Venezuela sits on $15 trillion worth of oil at $50 a
more than
barrel.
that. Yeah, but it's more than that. It's a
No,
lot
I'm
more
just
than that.
telling
Mr.
you that
Morrison,
that's what I heard, and
Okay,
that's only
one
part.
point. One
Let me
point.
just finish. Let me just
Go
finish.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And they have ample other
Resources.
resources,
Yeah.
gold, and also Venezuela has one of the largest underground water aquifer of fresh water.
Mr.
So
Morrison, do you know how much gold England have for Venezuela as we speak?
well, I think
Uh,
it's only like $13 billion, something like that.
yeah, but wait. Make I get a chance, Greg. When you hear Mr. Morrison, when you hear the report saying that they have more than $15 trillion worth of oil, in addition to the oil, they have gas.
Yes, yes, yes.
But before we get to the gas, without leaving the oil, the numbers that you hear on the oil is what they classify as known reserves,
Yes, of course,
not
of
the
course.
unknown, which we haven't dealt
Yeah,
with yet. And every time
yeah.
when these, I want to tell you something technically from the industry now, okay? When you hear
Hmm.
any report come from any country about any amount of oil when they discover or when they find, any country in the world, take this to the bank. They never report the exact amount that is discovered. There's always a difference in what they have learned or known
Yeah,
compared to what they discover, what they classify. Because when they extract the oil, they want it to be believed that what is it that was told to the world that they discovered is the only amount that they take out. When in fact they are
yeah.
always taking out more every day, and at the
Yes,
end of the day, the amount. Look at Belize, for example.
yeah,
They said that
yeah.
we only had so much oil for so much, and we haven't even touched. We are sitting on top of. But let me not get into that because next thing you know they will invade for you. But we can leave that alone. I yield back, sir.
Thank you. But what I'm saying,
Leave
Mr.
that alone.
Morrison,
Man,
it don't take that long and you don't have to go that far if you read the Monroe Doctrine. You will know what is happening. Alright?
I,
And how do they fulfill it? They want all countries over the world to trade and use the American dollar. So when you don't align with them, they use the power of the money to sanction you. And countries have been getting smart and staying away from it. And that is where all this is coming up. That is why BRICS was formed. That is why Gaddafi was sick. When he wanted to join Africa together to do business and they would do their trading in gold, the American dollar would have dropped. They got rid of him. And they are doing that. How they do it? You see how much American troops is stationed all over the world? You think they are not there for a reason? They are there to topple your government. You don't align with them, they take you over. Look at Syria. Who is that they are feeling Syria? Who is that they are feeling Guyana right now as we speak? So it's nothing new.
narr-
It's a narrative.
narrative.
there's an old saying, and all you guys know it, and it says, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. And
I don't
I
want
know,
to. I don't want to deal with no devil at all because
well,
any devil
well,
want be
well, we'll
want
always
be.
have a devil. There's always a devil. If there's a God, there's a devil. Wherever
Yeah, but I'm not God, so I don't want to deal with no devil because I can't handle no devil.
Well, it's a phrasing that says
I'm
that
just being funny.
no, and it's a phrasing that basically says that there's always going to be some negative to what you're doing, and somebody's going to take a greater advantage of the situation. You know, I don't know China and Chinese to kind of understand their psychology and where they come from and their way of thinking, but they have the same imperialist type of behavior. If you look at how they have operated in Africa, where they had made a stronghold,
They
I
were an
don't,
empire over 6,000 years ago, Mr. Morrison.
huh?
I said they were
Oh,
an empire over
yeah,
6,000 years
yeah, they
ago.
were,
You
but
know
they
what I
have
mean? They
always
not just
been.
come. They
No,
not just
no, they're
come.
not just come, but they have always been regional in terms of exercising influence, right? It's only in this modern time that China is flexing itself to kind of become global. They've always been regional in fact they even in their own country the British rule them and the Japanese rule them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first time that they're sort of coming up to themselves and sort of flexing some muscles in terms of global um, outreach.
But
But what I'm saying,
oh,
I
sorry,
don't
sorry.
know. Yeah, I was saying I don't know the psychology of them, how they think in total. But I have seen that they seem to be no different than the white man, the European, right? And European extraction, wherever they be in the United States or in Canada or wherever in this
I
part
would
they
say
are.
that is true, not only just for the white man or the Chinese man or the yellow man or whatever. I would say that's true for all human beings. Because according to what we learn from those who believe in the scripture and the Bible, Cain kill one brother Abel. Why? Because Abel's material goods that was presumably better than Cain's good. So Cain had to unlive his brother so he could, you know, take over his
But
brother's property.
I don't know.
That
I
has
don't know
been
if
going
that's
on
why
until
Cain, I
now.
don't know if that's why
All the
Cain killed his
empires,
brother. I think Cain
all
killed
the
his
empires
brother.
of the past.
Cain killed Abel because he didn't feel like God appreciated his offering. That's how the
The
Bible puts
offering, the
it.
offering was material goods, sir.
Mr.
No, he was just
Morrison,
jealous. He was just
Mr.
jealous that
Morrison, there's
because
a
remember
question.
he let me finish that point because remember he disobeyed God in terms of what he offered. He offered fruits and agricultural product when God asked for a sacrifice of a lamb.
Materialism. It's the
Well,
same thing going on today.
I don't well
I must
I
a
don't know if it's the same.
different,
I don't know if it's the
different,
same.
Mr. Morrison, I
different
want to
kind of
ask you
material,
this
you know.
question.
Go ahead.
Why is it that in America you are called Afro-Americans, but the Americans are not called European Americans?
Well, well,
And they want to run everyone else out now who built the rock.
yeah. Well, the colorism and whiteness and blackness and all those things, they are construct, right? And
Exactly.
and, and it just seems that it's a way to identify and diminish the Americanness of some people, and the black African American people
But
become the brute of that challenge.
long before America was declared to be known as America, you know, there were people living here. But the Pope said, go over there and conquer all of them in the name of my religion and give me
Yeah,
some of the spoils and
You
everything will be
know,
all right. Half to
you
Spain and half to Portugal. No,
you
America,
said
they took all of it.
you said something that nobody wants to talk about, right? They want to talk about World War II and the genocide, but they don't want to talk about the genocide of the American Indians, where these same European American came, take their land and put them on reservation. Nobody wants to speak about that.
Take them off of the reservation because
let,
the
let, let,
reservation
let,
have
let, let me
oil
let me let
uh,
me
uh,
just
uh,
say some.
and other minerals now. They have the thing we use to make nuclear weapons with and things like that.
Yeah,
You know, the
uranium.
uranium. You know, they find all kind of stuff now on the barren place. Then when they push them, I know they try to get them off.
Yeah. You know
By law.
what I'm thinking is that the United States, white America, black America, because of education, because of experience and the creativeness that we have, ingenuity and stuff, they if they
Uh-oh.
follow a proper principle of cooperation and exploiting the resources of the Americas, Chile, Argentina, Nicaragua, not not I meant
All over. All over.
Venezuela. There's enough resources that all the people of the Americas could live well. I
Mm-hmm.
think the Americas is one of the least populated continents. I think that you know North and South America are the least populated when you compare it to Asia, Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and those places. And so, and we have an abundance of resources. And if America, the United States of America, was to act in a genuine and generous way, they could share their knowledge and expertise, and they could get the resources and help these areas develop. And I'm sure those people in the droves would not be so anxious to come to America. They would stay in their own country. But there needs to be that bigger vision and that level of fairness to
Mr.
not
Morrison,
just,
you're talking about benign capitalism, sir.
yes, sir,
You're talking about benign capitalism.
yes, yes, yes,
Not about malignant capitalism where only just a few people wants to
yes,
hoard and corner the wealth of the world or the
yes,
wealth of you know of humanity,
yes.
you know, for all their future generations yet unborn.
Actually,
Until
there'll
we get
be
to that point, we'll continue experiencing what we have been experiencing so
yes.
far.
Mr.
Yes.
Morrison, that will never happen. If
I
you
don't
listen
think
to
it's going to
if
happen because
you listen to how these people speak, here is an example.
Why does the United States need to take over the Venezuelan oil industry?
Well, we don't need to. First of all, let me go back up. We don't need Venezuela's oil. We have plenty of oil in the United States. What we're not going to allow is for the oil industry in Venezuela to be controlled by adversaries of the United States. You have to understand, why does China need their oil? Why does Russia need their oil? Why does Iran need their oil? They're not even in this continent. This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors, and rivals of the United States.
Mr. Yes, okay. As the chairman, I'll take on Chairman Liberty right now. Thank you for playing that tape just now again, Greg. I wouldn't doubt that Mr. Rubio is on the verge of getting himself kicked out of his position. You know why? He's contradicting his boss too often. He got put on the spot and he will say, we don't need the oil. We don't need Venezuelan oil. When the president is telling us, we will take the oil, we will sell it, and we will make them prosper, and we will send for engineers and for companies them out there to repair the oil field and the places and so on, and develop the oil so we can have the oil instead of make China end up with it, because China lend Venezuela billions and billions of dollars to be
China
paid
says
back in oil.
they have $100 billion of interest in Venezuela
To be
already.
paid back in oil.
Yeah, yeah.
So if the US go and grab that oil now, if we go thief that oil right now, right? China will have to come through we to get the oil. China can't collect whatever billions of dollars with them owe because he won't have control of the oil. That we won't have control of the oil. But how right are we to go and take somebody else's property? How would we like for somebody else to go and take our property like that? You know where all kind of hell would have broke loose? I yield back, sir.
I understand the concern that people have in terms of trying to say that I believe that the first interest of the resources of the Americas is to serve first the people on the ground where those resources exist, and then the region first. I don't know how to make it that way because everything has capital, and that's why I said that if the United States was to be a little bit more globalized in terms of its thinking and not just thinking. The current administration is thinking in a covered, captured way of this is us, this we entitled to this. They're not even saying the people of the region or the people of the country have first dibs of it. They're putting themselves as they have all the rights to it, right?
You remember I said just now the difference between benign capitalism and malignant capitalism? That's
Yes,
precisely
yes,
what you're describing now
yes.
in details.
Yes, and so I'm hoping that we could in the United States and the Caribbean and North America and South America, they could start all looking at it from, you have this capability, you have these resources, let's see how we can amplify it and make it of benefit in the term that you're using, benign capitalism.
That,
So that,
that's a train that has already left the station, sir, because
I
that could
don't
have
think
worked.
so.
That could have worked.
Because
No,
no,
no, no,
humans
no.
will
Wait.
always.
That
I
could have
believe.
worked under the previous scenario. After we have done what
Gentlemen,
we have just done,
gentlemen, we are
there's not too
speaking
many people
here.
that will believe that.
I
This
think we could
can
always reset our position. You know, one of the strange things that have happened from what we're seeing, we don't see a lot of objection or a lot of proper comments from the Democratic Party in terms of what has gone on. Yeah, they condemn President Trump for it, but they don't have any real solution to deal with how to address the concerns of these other countries.
You can't
it's
blame the person.
happening, Mr.
But Mr.
Morrison.
Morrison, you can't blame the person when
Mr.
you have the powers,
Morrison,
sir.
he will be in peace. I
No, because I'm
guarantee
saying they are
you.
going to receive the benefit of it, and they're always doing this in a little less aggressive, but still in a
That's
same exploitive way.
but that is the America that we previously knew. It's not the America that we currently know.
Mr. Morrison, as we
It's,
That's the
speak, do
I
problem.
you
think all
know,
America behaves the same way. I think this president is a little bit more outspoken and a little bit more straightforward and honest in the way he presents himself than what some of these Biden and other guys they say, because they do the same thing. They allow the same exploitive behavior, but they kind of hide it in a way that you think they're helping you.
That's what diplomacy is for, sir.
Mr. Morrison, under President Biden, America economy was flourishing. The only issue he had was his external policy. All right? You heard what Mr. Rubio said just now? What they don't want to tell you all what to score by now. This is how much China have in their treasury securities, right? This is how much money they have in deficit that they owe big time, all right? Plus more,
If that
all
if that
right?
money were if that money was to be paid in gold bullions, right? You know how empty Fort Knox would be right now. A lot of countries during World War II transferred in gold from one country to the next for safety purposes, right? You imagine right now if we have to pay that $4 trillion currently outstanding, right? As a matter of fact, it's more than that, but some of it is owed locally.
Yeah.
Okay,
You guys, I'll say something. Don't ever think money means anything like that. The-
No, they
America,
just print
America
paper,
creates its own money,
print
right?
paper,
It,
print
it,
paper.
yeah, it means nothing. A deficit when you could print your own money means nothing. Owing somebody when you could print your own money means nothing. So when
America, America
You
has
know,
let me
America
just
have a deficit of I think it's 34 to between 34 and 38 trillion.
Yeah, and it means nothing. It really
They can
means
pay that off. They can pay that off with one coin. They could print one coin and value it at that amount and pay it off. No,
yeah, yeah.
seriously.
They
Not
set the value for their money.
That's how
They
the
set
system is set
everything.
up.
not anymore. They
Yes,
could
they
have
do.
done
Yeah.
this, Mr.
None of those
Morrison.
countries that are practicing and talking stuff
Mr. Morrison,
will
let's
hold,
be
will hold
real.
anything to the US.
America could have did that when their dollar had the power.
The dollar
They
still has the
cannot do
power.
it
No,
now
that's not
because
true.
even their technology is falling. Fighter jet is dropping in the sea, chopper is dropping in the sea. Nobody wants to buy them. Nobody's backing on their technology right now. So they're in a position. That is why these resources, they need it so bad because they are failing now in technology.
No, I don't. That's
Nobody
not
wants
true.
to buy their stuff.
There's a lot of anti-American sentiments out there, and truly, truly, this country. I'm not talking about the leadership. This country is the greatest country in the world. The people of America are the kindest and most generous people anywhere. And in terms of innovation and 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 development, we have a terrible past when it comes to the history of African American and Black people. But in general, people are better off in America than any other place they could go. Different people of different culture. People that goes from Africa and go and live in China and those places, they don't have the same freedom and capability, and they experience, maybe they don't um, beat you up and things like that, but you're locked out of positions. There are many things you can't achieve in those countries. So we could knock America in many ways, and we could call out things, but there are things that we could say here that if you were feeling them in those countries, you wouldn't be able to say. So I take my hats off to this great country. Our leadership at this moment has some challenges, okay, and that's real. But the greatest people and the greatest country in the world is the United States of America. The
Mr.
strongest
Morrison,
dollar, the strongest currency, and most capable and innovative currency, and the one that everybody wants to have in their pocket is the
not,
U.S.
not anymore. Not anymore. That currency is not that strong. Come on, let's stop making believe, right? But I will say this, right? Every now and then you have to have good presidents and bad presidents, right?
And we have had
And
them in the past too. They've had
yeah,
some really
because
bad.
all of them had dropped on certain countries. All of them had did the same. So, but it's funny how he wants to take from there and now the Marshall's taken from him. If you read in the news, they are going after Trump Tower, they are going after most everything he has. So, it's a part of life.
Yeah, and we have to remember the presidency is a term that lasts. A person stays in that office for a fixed period of time, and then they're out. And then the
Mr.
system.
Morrison, you touched that subject just now. I was hoping we didn't have to touch it, but since you touched it as a relevant question, or an apparently relevant question, other people might dispense with it or dismiss it. The issue of, okay, let me put it a different way. The, the, the issue, let me go ahead, same way like I was going to do it before because I'm kind of babbling now. The issue of this country having different government at different time and different philosophies of management at different time is not a fault. That's what makes the democracy the way it is. Some people take advantage of it and do things
Right?
differently than
That is
others.
correct.
But
That is correct.
my problem is that instead of moving forward successfully under the I mean, all emperors of the past, up to today date, including the United States of America as an empire, have gone into the dustbin of history
Spain,
because of
England,
because of their own internal failures. Okay,
Spain, England. Spain
very
had
few,
ruled.
very few emperors, very few emperors,
Mm-hmm,
like what we call emperors, as a matter of fact, because you have had kingdoms and so on that didn't amount to empires. When we're talking about
mm-hmm,
empires, we're talking about the major, serious one: the Chinese
mm-hmm.
Empire, the Mongolian
No,
Empire,
they
the,
still like,
the
they
Indian
still
Empire.
like Mr. Brackett.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The Indian Empire, the Middle Eastern empires, them that so many of them that came up and went down. The Mediterranean empires, them including up to the Roman Empire, and then the other empire of the British Empire, and all these others, right, including now the American Empire. They
Mr.
all had
Brackett,
challenges, but most of their challenges came from within. Why? Because of overreach.
right. But
Yeah.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Brackett,
go ahead, go ahead,
let me say like this.
go ahead, sir.
Spain had footprints all over the world. They were the richest country.
Mm-hmm,
Where they are today, they are broke.
mm-hmm,
The British
mm-hmm,
took over after Spain all over the world. They are broke.
mm-hmm.
And you know what? History always repeats itself.
Overreach.
It's a new beginning coming, and we are on that. That is what I will say. Because you know why? If we look in history, there's not one nation that there's ever a black man who is a leader that tried to take over the world. Never in history.
Uh,
There is none.
do you ever heard about Hannibal the Great? Do you ever heard about the first emperor, the first Roman emperor that conquered England? And there are many others. Do you ever heard about the Berbies? You ever heard about the Dark Ages? Who
There are
conquered
many you can read,
conquered
but
Europe,
they
conquered
never get. But
conquered a
serious,
big part of Europe and
they
conquered Africa,
never
a
get
big
to
part of
where
Africa?
Spain and India.
even when they did, and they
No,
conquered,
I'm
no,
just
I'm just saying,
retorting. I'm
yeah,
just retorting in correction to
no, but
what
I'm
I'm saying
saying
that
even when
he
they,
has never heard of. And
no,
I'm
no,
saying,
no, we heard of them, but
yeah,
even when
okay.
they did, they ruled benevolently.
Some of
They,
them.
Right,
Some of them.
right.
most of them.
In order to conquer, you got to unlive a lot of
No,
people,
no.
sir.
Before you, but
Especially
I'm
as an
saying
empire.
when they ruled, when you're fighting, you're gonna die. Somebody's gonna die to make you king,
And to
right?
maintain empires,
But when they
a
ruled,
bloody affair.
they had ruled with benevolence. They ruled by promoting all people, building institutions so that all people could go. They shared knowledge. They did not hold back and so forth. So that was the difference, and that's the difference at the heart of the black man, I believe. You know, it's never to just keep things for themselves and sort of not wanting to share the knowledge. They took the universities to Europe, whether it is Spain or
Hmm, hmm.
or the mountains of the Caspian and those areas. So that's how they manage, or even the island of England when the Roman emperor um, went there. That was black.
That was a black man too.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Morrison, you know what I'm afraid of as we speak here tonight? Because there's no UNCAP in our country. The same thing is happening to us with the present government.
Hmm.
Good
Because
gentlemen,
I miss what you said, Mr. Gregory Brackett.
because there is no UNCAP in our country and no opposition to hold the present government accountable. The same issues that we are speaking about is happening in this country. It's back to nationalization. It's back to privatize. We right now where BCA looking to buy out all the rest of company and corporations to benefit who? So, we speak of these things and we have to look at it at home and worldwide because it's true, it's happening, you know, and it's happening because of exactly what you're saying, narrative.
But
Those
these
who
guys,
have money and the power, they
on that, sorry, on that point, Greg, these
commercial
guys that we have,
narrative.
these kleptocrats that we have back there running our system, they're going to use our treasury and our resources, okay? They're going to sell those companies that they own privately to us, get paid up front because they don't want to invest any more money into these modern technologies that they have to come up with to continue running, be on par with the game. So they're going to sell us the thing, use the money that they collect from us, and turn around and buy shares into the same thing and own majority shares, and they will end up doing it privately anyhow because it's going to be a private public endeavor, but it's going to be a malignant capitalistic effort. These guys are not trying to be nice to the public or to the Belizean people. It's a scam.
But they haven't even came to the public
They don't explain that because they don't need to. I
when
don't
you
want.
take over a business like BTL and you use most of it came from taxpayers' money. How come they are not involved in what you are doing? That haven't even went to the house. Something like that.
They
It's
put BTL
crazy.
into the constitution, right? That we will own it forever. But these jackals are turning around and taking it from under the government and public domain onto themselves privately. They're buying the shares. They won't put up the shares for sale.
No,
BTL will need funds
I don't think I don't think you're saying that correctly, Mr. Brackett. BTL is
please
private owned with
explain it to
majority
me.
shares.
Go ahead and explain it to me properly, then, if I'm not saying
Yeah.
it correctly. Go
Okay.
ahead.
BTL
I yield.
is a public-private company with the government owning a majority. I think that at this time the government
That's
owns
what I
like
said. That's what I said.
no,
I
no,
said
no.
that
Let me
earlier. But
finish.
go ahead.
The government
Yeah.
owns like I think like 55% of it, and private ownership. I own stocks in BTL. The issue is BTL buying Smart. Smart is a completely private company owned by the Brisenia and the Ashcroft Corporation, right?
Yes, sir.
Um,
That's
and
all of
so
that I
and
already said
so
in my previous
yeah, I
remarks.
understand. I understand.
Go ahead.
Uh,
But go ahead. I'm sorry for
and so the
interjecting.
the idea of what they're trying to do is to instead of having two main telecommunication company, internet service providing company in Belize, they will have one that would have monopolistic control. This is as we had before when when Smart, which is owned by the Ashcroft and Brisenia family, they when he was chairman of BTL, they sold off many of the assets of BTL cheaply. And also when they broke up Radio Belize, they took the tower that was the tower for Radio Belize and gave it to Smart and those companies so that they could have antenna resources.
Those was from the Voice of America, sir. Most of those that came from the
No,
Voice of America transmission in
no,
PG.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the when they sold off Radio Belize, they took the
The antenna they used to have close by the bridge there,
yes, Belcan Bridge.
yeah,
Yeah, the Saloti there. They sold those to Smart, right?
no, some of that went to
Well, some of it went different places, but I'm not
went
saying all.
to Love FM organization, okay, and that's why
Yeah,
they were able to put up all those
yeah,
um
yeah,
transmission all over the country at different locations so that
yes,
they could cover the whole country. All
yes.
those things came from from the
BTL. Oh, from
no.
Radio
From the
Belize.
Voice of America. No. I'm trying
No,
to
When
add,
we are at that
I'm trying to add,
time,
I'm
issue.
trying to give
Don't
you
mix
something
that
else
up.
adding
No,
on to
no,
what you're
no.
saying.
I know what Vice of America. I remember when they took down the tower. When they sold
Mr.
off like
Chairman, we are at that time, we're over time too.
Long over time, but I'm just entertaining the conversation because it's a nice conversation we're having, and we haven't had one like this open for so many different subjects that are of efficient or importance, So I was just, sliding with it like that. But what I was trying to do, though, Mr. Morrison, was to add to what you were saying. So I wasn't taking away from what you had said. No, I was just adding the fact that a lot of people don't understand where all those VOA towers came from and where they went to. And, when VOA was shut down, okay, I don't know how much of what I'm saying I'm supposed to say.
My point of that is
Everybody
this,
knows VOA was
Mr. Morrison, if you may answer this
yeah,
for me.
and
My point of that smart buyout is this. If government owns 55% and it's public-private, who's representing government, which is the people? Because taxpayers' money helps to get back that corporation. So how can that work out?
The Prime Minister is the person that
Without going to
has
the
to do with
house,
the money.
without
Greg,
consulting.
Greg, just a minute. The Prime Minister is the Minister of Finance. Whose family own Smart, and also the telecommunication companies them that broadcast televisions and things like those. Okay.
That's Ashcroft.
No, wait, man. Yes, no. Before Ashcroft was involved with Briseño, they used to own the whole thing or majority shares. Ashcroft got
But
involved
then
with
it was a different company then. It was a different company then. All they were doing at that time, no, you have to be careful because what Briseño family was a company that sell cell phones. All they did was selling cell phone. They did not own transmission lines and all that kind of stuff. They did not own that until Ashcroft and them bought resources from BTL. They sold off resources from BTL. They kept it in storage for a while, use it, said, oh, this is excess material. We don't need this. And they turn around and sell material that they brought into the country duty free. Then they turn around and also sell it at a significant discount as surplus material. And then they sold that to Smart, right? So they were double dipping on the people in that way.
Okay. I know the history of this thing because from way back in the 1970s, I used to work at Radio Belize as an assistant news editor, right? My father was next door to me there working at the telecommunication company, okay, where we had the transmission tower right there side of the Albert Catus building, we used to call it.
Building, yeah, right in the yard, right in the yard.
And I used to go and help my father with a lot of the telephone communications, installations all over the place, okay? But what I'm saying is that I know the whole history from back then, archivally. I know the history of the whole communication and telecommunication history in our country. The details.
Your father must have known my father because my father for a while worked at Cable and Wireless right in the yard.
That's what I'm talking about, right there in the same yard. Okay, right the side of the same building.
Yeah.
But anyhow, what I'm saying to you, sir, is that there was a point in time when we had Intelco. All the things that were Intelco we had got turned over to the government. Eventually, some of it was acquired by Mr. What you call him? Mr. Ashcroft, because BTL, under its former name, was supposed to have been controlled by government. They sell some shares, but just like right now, how they are controlled by the government, they should have been controlled by the government back then. And the PUP, when they came into office, Mr. Musa allowed Mr. Ashcroft to gain majority shares in another company.
Yes.
And then he turned around and normally give people the benefits, the thing out of the shares.
Dividend.
I sold him quite a bit of shares at the time. I never knew that he was the one that I was being selling it to. The person that did the transaction between on Mr. Ashcroft's side against me was Mr. Barrow's wife, Miss Louise Young.
Lois
Okay?
Young.
Lois Young.
Yeah. She was the chairman. I think she was the chairman or the attorney. No, she was the attorney for she was
Ashcroft.
the attorney for BTL. Yes.
Yeah, but she was working on behalf of Ashcroft behind the scene. Okay, she was the one trying to acquire the shares then to make Ashcroft gain the majority shares out of that company, which is what I'm trying to explain to you. I sat in her own office and discussed some of these things with her. Okay, but prior to my agreeing to sell to them, I never knew that what the scheme that they had up their sleeve. I get to find that out after the fact. Otherwise, I'm not selling my damn shares there. Because like myself and other people,
I still own about 1,000 shares of BTL.
Yeah, myself and other people enabled him to acquire or violate the laws of the country at the time because it was legally not to be owned or controlled by any outside person. And he refused. When he got control of the thing, he stopped giving people the annual their money. Because he said, well, there was not enough, but he was sending out cash money out of the country. He was harnessing the money and sending it out of the country in American money through his bank, claiming that he was buying additional equipment, and that's why he couldn't give people their money, because he had to put up some extra money to modernize the equipment and modernize.
And then they turn around.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then they turn around, didn't use the equipment, and had all this millions and millions of dollars of equipment, called it surplus, and then sold it to Smart, which he formed with when they got Intelco with the Briseno. Briseno at that time, all they had was a big phone selling company. All they did was sold phone initially.
Okay, right? They sold phone and they sold
phone card. Yeah.
They also sold minutes.
Yes, yeah, the card for the minutes. The card for the minutes. When you could buy minutes.
Ashcroft provided Briseno with the original funding. Briseno borrowed money from him for the original funding to buy and take over. Because I want to tell you again, some of my relatives there, the whole family then, used to own that central television and whatever else not stuff.
Yeah.
And Briseno pay my relative.
Somebody killed the young man.
My relatives would check when they end up they kill him after his vehicle and make a young lady call her, put up my friend. Kill him before he could have gone and cash the check in a Ashcroft Bank, Belize Bank. Okay. The public doesn't know all these background things that I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I know.
But anyhow,
he lived right down the street from me. Roger, I think was his name, right? Was it Roger?
When Briseno gave him the money where Barrow never pay, because that's why Briseno, Ashcroft.
Well, I think we need to clear something up. We don't know. Let's make sure that we're not saying that Briseno. Let me finish for a moment.
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that we're not saying, and I know you're not saying that he had anything to do with the killing, but we know that.
No. I mentioned that because I know the details of everything that was going on back then. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I understand. I'm just clearing that point up.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not saying that Briseno had anything to do with it, but we're saying within that same time frame.
No. I said a little bit more than that. You might not be saying that, but I know what I said because I got the goods.
Well, I don't want to say that, and I don't want to be
involved. I was involved in part of that process, which is why I can talk to it, and I'm talking about it.
No, we can talk about it. We have to be careful.
Brackett,
let me finish up though. Let me finish up this one point. Mr. Briseno borrowed money. Wait. Mr. Briseno borrowed money from Mr. Ashcroft. And Mr. Ashcroft get mad with Briseno when Briseno never want to get a port. He never want to get a permission to develop the port and keep the port for yourself. Instead, Mr. Briseno make agreement with them to take back the port and get a certain amount of hundreds of millions of dollars, which they agreed to, and came to the house and did one fast thing there and get up the payoff and say, we don't get rid of the man, we settle all accounts where he came to the house and declared. But for all intents and purposes, he still had the agreement with the man.
Mr. Brackett, you compressing time and events so fast.
One of the things in one.
No.
I'm trying to show you how Mr. Ashcroft get back in the telephone company business. I'm trying to tell you.
I think we are out of time, sir.
Yeah,
That's a discussion that can be
for
finished.
another time. Okay, nevertheless, the bottom line, I'm going to close up. Mr.
Mr.
Briseño, Mr. Briseño, me owe money to Mr. Ashcroft, and Mr. Ashcroft decided to take, instead of Mr. Briseño get the physical money, Mr. Briseño take the shares that was equal to 51, I think 50.5%, and end up with majority shares, and then end up the club, the hold on to the company, and now Mr. Briseño wants for him money up front because he
Mr.
wants to
Brackett,
sell
have
the
me an
company to
excuse,
the
sir.
government so they could get paid up front. Okay? And it'll be between 150 to 200
Mr.
million dollars.
Brackett, have me an excuse, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. Morrison, can you do the closing, sir?
Well, we covered quite a lot of issues in the last moments I was here. So um, next time I'll see if I could join in a little earlier. I think there's so much issues like you mentioned, Mr. Brackett, um, Gregory Brackett, the Inca situation where Belize have failed to join. Personally, I'm against Inca because I believe it somehow affects the sovereignty of a country, and I don't know that those systems work in the ideal way because you're putting people, NGOs and judges and people that have the same type of motivation of the people that sponsor them. Even if we look at where these measures take practice, we see that not everybody that was involved in Guatemala. Not everyone that was involved on equal sides gets prosecuted, and that just select people get prosecuted, even so. But it means what I'm saying, we Inca could help Belize set up the standard and the systems, but I don't want they having their judges and they having the say of who you go after in terms of prosecution. So I'm quite well believing that we could set up our own framework. We could set up our own prosecution, developing it under the INCA framework. And I just want to say thank you for having me joining you this evening.
You're welcome,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Morrison. Well said. I believe that based on what you said, my input to that would be we have to start somewhere where there is nothing
I'd like to say,
because
sorry.
we cannot continue down the same path. We make two steps forward and three steps backward.
So
And
long as, so long as the same people that we have running our system try to do what you propose, Mr. Um, Morrison, we will end up with the same outcome, sir. Case in question, the Buna situation. They have the power and the authority to frustrate and mess up any situation to not be held accountable themselves. So while I would agree that maybe under certain other circumstances we are more benign people or people who have more better faith in the country and the people of Belize and work truly on behalf of the people, your scenario could quite well work out, but not under these scofflaws and jackals and kleptocrats that we have. Are
thank
you
you. With that said, I
closing?
want to thank you guys for sitting virtually with me. I want to say thank you to those who tuned in to this 384th edition of Belizean Affair, and hopefully you will join us again on Friday, which is Constitutional Night. With that said, I want to say good night to you, the people at home and abroad. Thank you.
Thank you very much.